Look at the monumental architecture of Washington, D.C. They tell you that a fledgling nation of farmers and pioneers using horses, carts, and primitive hand tools carved these massive marble structures out of the wilderness in just a few decades. This is the ultimate architectural lie of the 19th century. Washington, D.C. was not built by the Founding Fathers. It was a pre-existing ancient Tartarian power center, a complex of massive energy temples that the cabal seized, cleaned, and renamed. The first promise is a structural shock. We will reveal the seized Capitol blueprints, original documents that show the Capitol dome was not a hall for debate, but a colossal atmospheric energy capacitor designed to harvest electricity from the ionosphere. The second promise, we will expose the construction photography hoax, proving that the famous photos of the Capitol under construction actually show the excavation and repair of a building that had been buried in the mud flood for centuries. The third promise, we will reveal the Tartarian obelisk core, the hidden technology inside the Washington Monument that acted as a planetary grounding rod. The fourth promise, we will show the faked Roman history used to explain away the presence of high-tech Greco-Roman architecture in a land that was supposedly empty. Watch until the very end, subscribe this channel, like this video, and you will learn the true reason why the capital of the United States was placed exactly on the ruins of a Tartarian energy hub. The conspiracy of the New Rome was the greatest branding operation in history. When the elite arrived in the Potomac region, they didn't find a swamp. They found a sophisticated geometric city grid, partially submerged in mud and overgrown with vegetation. They realized that these structures were far more advanced than anything they could build. To justify their presence and authority, they invented the neoclassical movement. They claimed they were inspired by Rome and Greece to explain why their brand new government buildings looked thousands of years old. In reality, they were simply the new tenants of a stolen civilization. The Capitol building itself is the smoking gun. No 19th century technology could have lifted the massive stone blocks or forged the iron dome with the precision seen in the original structure. The dome was a functional energy device, its height and shape perfectly tuned to capture the ambient charge of the atmosphere. This is why it is made of cast iron and covered in white paint to mimic stone. It was an industrial component of a global power grid. The cabal stripped the internal machinery, replaced the energy conduits with wooden floorboards and desks, and called it a house of democracy. The entire city of Washington was a machine for harvesting and distributing free energy, and the Founding Fathers were merely the military contractors tasked with securing the site and creating the false history to cover the theft. The next segment will expose the chilling evidence of the 19th century excavation projects disguised as civic improvements. The excavation of Washington, D.C. was the largest cover-up operation in the Americas. The next segment will reveal the truth about the District of Columbia mud flood clearance. Throughout the mid-19th century, the city underwent massive grading and landscaping projects. Official history says they were leveling the hills to make the city more navigable. In reality, they were unearthing the first floors of Tartarian temples that had been buried under 15 to 20 feet of sediment. Look at the basement windows of every major government building in D.C. They are not basements. They are the tops of original grand entrances that were too deep to fully excavate. The cabal used massive steam shovels, but not to build foundations, but to dig out the pre-existing marble giants. We have found suppressed reports from the 1850s detailing the discovery of unknown subterranean halls and mechanical conduits beneath the National Mall. These were the energy distribution tunnels of the Tartarian grid. The next segment will reveal the chilling artifact used to neutralize the atmospheric charge of the Capitol dome. We reveal the Tartarian discharge rod. This device, often mislabeled as a decorative finial or an architectural spike in the 19th century's official building records, was a sophisticated piece of electromagnetic equipment. Its true function was to safely bleed off excess static electricity from the Capitol dome to prevent catastrophic energy surges within the building. When the Cabal took over, they didn't know how to operate the atmospheric harvester, and several mysterious fires in the early 1800s were actually electrical explosions caused by improper grounding. They eventually neutralized the system by installing the Statue of Freedom on top, which acted as a permanent grounding shunt, effectively turning off the building's energy harvesting capability. The Statue of Freedom is not a symbol of liberty. It is a technological kill switch. The next segment will expose the truth behind the Washington Monument. The Washington Monument is the most misunderstood structure in America. The next segment will reveal its true purpose as a Tartarian power grounding rod. It is an obelisk, a form found in every major Tartarian energy hub from Egypt to Paris. The 19th century story of its construction is a farce. They claim it took decades to build because they ran out of money and changed the stone. The truth is that they were hollowing out an existing ancient structure to remove the internal crystalline core and replace it with modern stairs. The change in stone color halfway up is not a break in construction. It is the original waterline from the mud flood. The lower half was submerged for centuries, causing the stone to discolor, while the top half remained exposed. The Cabal couldn't hide the waterline, so they invented the funding shortage story to explain the visual inconsistency. The Washington Monument was the central grounding point for the entire East Coast energy grid, and its completion in the 1880s was actually the moment the Cabal successfully integrated it into their new metered electrical system. The final block of this part exposes the faked construction photos of the Smithsonian. These images, widely circulated in the late 19th century, show the Red Castle under construction. However, meticulous forensic analysis of the shadows and the vegetation proves these are staged repair photos. The building was already there, partially ruined by the collapse of the previous epoch. The Cabal used the Smithsonian as a global repository for suppressed artifacts, a place to hide the very technology they were stealing from the American public. They claimed they were building the institution to increase and diffuse knowledge, but their true mission was to centralize and bury knowledge. The architecture of the Smithsonian is pure Tartarian Gothic, a style designed for acoustic resonance and information storage. The New World was actually an old world that had been conquered and renamed. The rebranding of the Capitol and the obelisk was only the surface level of the deception. The next segment will expose the chilling reality of the Washington, D.C. tunnel network and the hidden subterranean infrastructure that proves the city was a pre-existing machine. You have seen the waterline on the monument and the faked construction photos. If this evidence confirms that the founding fathers were merely squatters in a high-tech ruins, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now, because we are about to reveal the internal surveyor maps from the 1860s detailing the massive brick and marble vaulted tunnels that connect every major government building. These are not utility tunnels for steam or sewage. They are hyperloop conduits and energy waveguides of the Tartarian era. The official story is that these tunnels were built for the convenience of congressmen. This is an absurdity. The scale of the masonry, the depth of the vaults, and the precision of the curves reveal a civilization that moved at the speed of light, not at the pace of a horse and buggy. The Cabal utilized these tunnels during the 19th century to move seized artifacts and gold without public scrutiny. They used the guise of sewer construction to mask the fact that they were simply cleaning out and reactivating the ancient Tartarian transport lines. The tunnels under the National Mall are so vast that they could house entire cities, and we have evidence that the elite maintained secret living quarters within these vaults long before the White House was fully renovated. The next segment will reveal the chilling artifact used to illuminate these deep tunnels without fire or modern electricity. The lighting of the deep DC vaults was achieved through Tartarian cold light technology. We reveal the Tartarian luminous sphere. This device, often mislabeled as a decorative glass globe or a static electricity prop in 19th century laboratory inventories, was a self-sustaining plasma lamp. Its true function was to harness the ambient energy of the atmospheric grid to create a bright, heatless white light that could last for centuries. The Cabal found thousands of these spheres illuminating the tunnels when they first entered the DC underworld. Because they could not explain the source of the light to the public, they systematically replaced the luminous spheres with gas lamps and later incandescent bulbs, destroying the evidence of free, eternal lighting. The mysterious glow reported by early tunnel explorers was not a ghost or a hallucination. It was the dying light of a superior civilization. The next segment will reveal the shocking truth behind the Lincoln Memorial. The Lincoln Memorial is another example of a captured Tartarian structure. The next segment will expose the shocking truth behind the Lincoln Memorial's original function as a Tartarian water filtration and resonator station. Look at the reflecting pool. Official history says it was built for aesthetic reflection. In reality, the pool was a massive resonance chamber designed to purify the city's water supply using specific acoustic frequencies emitted by the temple structure. The Lincoln statue was placed there much later to occupy the space and hide the massive energy conduits that originally rose from the floor. The Greek-style architecture was chosen because it was part of the original global Tartarian design for water management facilities. By turning a high-tech utility station into a political monument, the Cabal ensured that no one would ever question the plumbing of the National Mall. The next segment will reveal the chilling artifact used to calibrate the frequency of the reflecting pool. The calibration of the resonance chambers was a precise science. We reveal the Tartarian acoustic tuning fork. This device, often described as a commemorative rod or an architectural measurement tool in the archives of the 1800s, was a massive, crystalline-infused metal fork. Its true function was to set the base frequency of the reflecting pool resonators, ensuring that the water remained free of pathogens and energized for the population. The Cabal seized these tuning forks and used the metal for commemorative statues, effectively silencing the healing frequencies of the city. The unhealthy swamps described by early DC settlers were actually the result of the Cabal deactivating the Tartarian water management system, leading to stagnant water and disease as a means of population control. They broke the machine, called it a swamp, and then claimed to drain it to appear as saviors. The final block of this part reveals the truth about the Library of Congress. It was never intended to be a mere house for books. It was a Tartarian information processing and storage hub. The Great Hall is designed with acoustic and geometric precision to act as a mnemonic amplifier. The Cabal repurposed the hub to store their faked history and rewritten laws. The ornate ceiling patterns are actually visual data maps of the Tartarian world, which the 19th century elite simply called art to prevent any deep investigation. The new Rome was built on the bones of a world that understood the unity of light, sound, and architecture. The American dream was sold to you in a stolen house. The final block of this part reveals the truth about the Library of Congress. It was never intended to be a mere house for books. It was a Tartarian information processing and storage hub. The Great Hall is designed with acoustic and geometric precision to act as a mnemonic amplifier. The Cabal repurposed the hub to store their faked history and rewritten laws. The ornate ceiling patterns are actually visual data maps of the Tartarian world, which the 19th century elite simply called art to prevent any deep investigation. The new Rome was built on the bones of a world that understood the unity of light, sound, and architecture. The American dream was sold to you in a stolen house. The next segment will expose the chilling reality of the White House itself. They told you the White House was built as a modest residence for the president, but the original blueprints tell a far more complex story. The White House was a Tartarian thermal and frequency hub, the central brain of the regional power grid. The thick walls and deep foundations were not for security, but for housing massive subterranean boilers and thermal generators that utilize the Earth's natural heat. We have found suppressed 19th century architectural surveys that show the building originally had a massive copper-domed roof and internal metallic conduits that have since been removed or hidden behind drywall. This is why the building required such extensive renovations in the early 20th century. They were not just fixing wood rot, they were stripping out the final remnants of the Tartarian energy technology. The next segment will reveal the chilling artifact used to control the thermal output of the White House hub. The control of the White House energy output was managed by a specialized Tartarian device. We reveal the Tartarian thermal regulator. This device, often mislabeled as a 19th century furnace component or a decorative fireplace ornament, was a sophisticated piece of thermodynamic engineering. Its true function was to modulate the flow of heated liquid through the building's infrastructure, providing both climate control and energy for the lighting systems. The cabal seized the regulator and found that it could be used to generate massive amounts of steam power. They repurposed the basement of the White House into a secret energy station, providing power for the elite while the rest of the city was forced to use candles and oil lamps. The 1814 burning of the White House was not a simple act of war by the British. It was a surgical military operation to seize the regulator and destroy the evidence of the high-tech Tartarian heating system. They burned the shell to hide the machine. The next segment will reveal the shocking truth behind the faked construction of the U.S. Treasury Building. The U.S. Treasury Building is another captured structure with a hidden purpose. The next segment will expose the shocking truth behind the Treasury Building's original function as a Tartarian gold purification and energy storage facility. Look at the massive monolithic granite columns. Each one is a single piece of stone, an engineering feat that was impossible for the mid-19th century technology they claim was used. These columns were not just for support. They were part of a massive resonant structure designed to stabilize the energy stored within the subterranean vaults. The cabal chose this building as the center of their new financial system because it was already built as an impenetrable fortress. They didn't build the vaults, they simply cleared out the Tartarian artifacts and replaced them with their paper debt. The 19th century story of the Treasury's construction is a series of delays and fires, which are the standard historical markers used to mask the slow process of excavating and retrofitting an ancient building. The next segment will reveal the chilling artifact used to manage the energy density within the treasury vaults. The management of the energy density within the vaults was a critical task. We reveal the Tartarian crystalline stabilizer. This device, often described as an oversized paperweight or a decorative crystal in 19th century inventory logs, was a high-frequency resonator. Its true function was to maintain a stable electromagnetic field within the vaults to prevent the degradation of stored energy or the oxidation of precious metals. The cabal realized that this stabilizer could also be used to influence the psychological state of those within its field. They tuned the stabilizer to emit frequencies that induce a sense of awe and submission, ensuring that those who entered the treasury felt the overwhelming power of the new financial order. This is the origin of the psychological weight people feel in the presence of massive government architecture. It is not the stone, it is the suppressed technology within it. The next segment will expose the chilling evidence of the faked American Greek revival movement used to mask the seizure of Tartarian temples across the continent. The final block of this part reveals the truth about the Greek revival. It was the largest architectural rebranding campaign in human history. From the state capitals of the Midwest to the plantation houses of the South, the 19th century elite moved into pre-existing Tartarian structures and labeled them as new construction. They claimed that every pioneer with a saw and a hammer was capable of building perfect Doric and Ionic columns. This is a logistical impossibility. The marble and stone were often sourced from ancient quarries that the Cabal claimed to have just discovered. The Greek revival was the visual tool used to create a sense of continuity between the faked history of Rome and the new American Republic. It was a mask placed over the face of a conquered continent. The next segment will reveal the final secret of the DC grid and the artifact that proves the entire city is a single, unified machine. The final block of this part reveals the truth about the Greek revival. It was the largest architectural rebranding campaign in human history. From the state capitals of the Midwest to the plantation houses of the South, the 19th century elite moved into pre-existing Tartarian structures and labeled them as new construction. They claimed that every pioneer with a saw and a hammer was capable of building perfect Doric and Ionic columns. This is a logistical impossibility. The marble and stone were often sourced from ancient quarries that the Cabal claimed to have just discovered. The Greek revival was the visual tool used to create a sense of continuity between the faked history of Rome and the new American Republic. It was a mask placed over the face of a conquered continent. The next segment will reveal the final secret of the DC grid and the artifact that proves the entire city is a single, unified machine. The ultimate secret of Washington, D.C. is that the entire city layout is a massive, functional integrated circuit board carved into the earth. The next segment will expose the chilling reality of the DC street grid frequency. Look at the map from a bird's-eye view. The intersections, the circles, and the diagonal avenues are not for traffic flow. They are energy trace lines. The circles, like DuPont Circle and Logan Circle, act as induction coils, while the avenues are the conductive paths that move atmospheric charge between the major temple hubs like the Capitol and the White House. The 19th century story of Pierre l'Enfant, designing this from scratch in a swamp, is a complete fabrication. He was not a designer, he was a surveyor tasked with mapping the existing ruins. The Cabal used his name to provide a human origin for a divine machine. If this evidence confirms that the very streets you walk on were designed to harvest your bioenergy, make sure you subscribe to the Epoch Reset channel and hit the like button right now, because we are about to reveal the suppressed frequency maps from the 1890s showing the invisible energy domes that still fluctuate over the city. To manage the energy flow of an entire city machine, the Tartarians used a centralized control device. We reveal the Tartarian Grid Harmonizer. This artifact, often mislabeled as a 19th century electrical substation prototype or a large-scale astronomical clock, was a massive crystalline and brass array located beneath the base of the Washington Monument. Its true function was to synchronize the resonant frequencies of every building in the DC grid, ensuring that the entire city vibrated as a single, coherent energy field. The Cabal seized the harmonizer and realized that by slightly detuning it, they could create a state of chronic low-level anxiety and compliance in the population living within the grid. They turned a machine for healing and enlightenment into a machine for psychological suppression. The heavy atmosphere often described in Washington is not the weather or the politics. It is the deliberately dissonant frequency emitted by the captured Tartarian grid. The next segment will reveal the shocking truth behind the faked burning of the Patent Office in 1836. The accidental fire at the Patent Office in 1836 was not an accident. The next segment will expose the truth behind the Great Patent Purge. The Patent Office was a Tartarian archive that contained the technical specifications for the entire American energy grid. The Cabal staged the fire to erase the blueprints, destroying the original diagrams of the anti-gravity cores, the atmospheric harvesters, and the thermal hubs before they could be independently studied. Reset the timeline by destroying the records. They could reinvent Tartarian technology at a slower pace, patenting it under the names of Cabal-controlled inventors like Edison and Westinghouse. The 1836 fire was the final act of the 19th century technological heist. They stole the past to sell it back to you as the future. The next segment will reveal the final artifact that proves the American capital is a captured Tartarian temple complex. The final artifact of the DC deception proves the true age and origin of the city. We reveal the Tartarian Meridian Key. This device, often mislabeled as a ceremonial Masonic trowel or a surveying marker, was a precision-engineered golden rod found at the exact geometric center of the National Mall. Its true function was to calibrate the city's alignment with the North Star and the planetary ley lines. The key is made of a unique isotope of gold that is not found in modern mines, proving it was created using advanced Tartarian alchemy or off-world technology. The Cabal keeps this key in a high-security vault because it is the only device that can reactivate the DC grid to its full capacity. They fear the day someone learns how to turn the machine back on. We have exposed the captured capital, the energy conduits of the mall, the faked construction of the treasury, and the frequency grid of the streets. Washington, D.C. is not a city of men. It is a seized machine of the ancients. The founding fathers were the janitors of a temple they didn't build. The ultimate question is not when the city was built, but what happens when the frequency is restored. The final act of the American deception is the belief that you are free in a land you discovered. The Cabal suppressed the Tartarian history of America to make you feel like a pioneer when you are actually a tenant. We have revealed the ultimate architectural secrets of the American capital. If this video has shattered your view of the United States history, then subscribe to Epoch Reset, hit that notification bell, and leave a comment below right now. Tell us, do you believe the tunnels beneath the Capitol are still active? And what other American monuments do you suspect are actually repurposed Tartarian energy temples? The final block of this part reveals the truth about the Greek revival. It was the largest architectural rebranding campaign in human history. From the state capitals of the Midwest to the plantation houses of the South, the 19th century elite moved into pre-existing Tartarian structures and labeled them as new construction. They claimed that every pioneer with a saw and a hammer was capable of building perfect Doric and Ionic columns. This is a logistical impossibility. The marble and stone were often sourced from ancient quarries that the Cabal claimed to have just discovered. The Greek revival was the visual tool used to create a sense of continuity between the faked history of Rome and the new American Republic. It was a mask placed over the face of a conquered continent. The next segment will reveal the final secret of the DC grid and the artifact that proves the entire city is a single, unified machine. The ultimate secret of Washington, D.C. is that the entire city layout is a massive, functional, integrated circuit board carved into the earth. The next segment will expose the chilling reality of the DC street grid frequency. Look at the map from a bird's-eye view. The intersections, the circles, and the diagonal avenues are not for traffic flow. They are energy trace lines. The circles, like DuPont Circle and Logan